Hi, welcome to Journey Onward. The past few weeks, we've been working through various topics, and this week, we're considering what it means to live our life on mission in a digital world. Hi, my name is Simon, and it's my privilege to spend the next 15 minutes with you. I'm really encouraged by the posture of your church, your desire to grow in fervent prayer and to walk in dependence on the Lord, your vision to raise up generations of disciples who are also servant leaders with the mission of impacting your community and beyond for Him. I'm so encouraged by that. I've been asked to share with you this very important topic, and my goal is to help you discover how actually everyone can play a part in digital missions, how each of us can truly live out God's call with all the gifts, talents, and experiences God has uniquely written in our stories to bring the gospel to the ends of the earth. If we truly want to impact communities, we need to faithfully carry out our God-given mandate in our digital world. Well, today, more people on planet have a mobile phone than a toothbrush. As sad as this is for health development, it represents a significant opportunity. It goes without saying that we live in truly unique times, that even with major restrictions and challenges because of the pandemic, to meet in person, we continue with life and ministry, and all of us literally have webs of connections through our social media, easy access to communication with family and friends, ability to work and collaborate over distance, and to even do church online. All of this facilitated through various forms of technology and digital platforms. And yet, we know that we live in such dark times. It's also uncertain and volatile. It's times like these where the church needs to rise up. We are the beautiful feet that bring good news, who proclaim peace. Psalm 52 verse 7 is a verse I like to offer us as an anchor and foundation. It reads, "How beautiful on the mountains are the feet of the messenger who brings good news, the good news of peace and salvation. The news that the God of Israel reigns." Here's a reference to the messengers who were just at the scene of the battle, running to bring news of about the outcome to the king and the anxious people. The news he's about to announce brings hope. It's news of deliverance. What news do you and I bring to our aching world? Do we share hope? Do we offer refreshment and life? In the English Standard Version, it says, "He who publishes peace," is this idea of making it widely known, to produce, to release, for distribution, to announce. What the world and the news that we hear all the time keeps saying or announcing or publishing is terror, shame, brokenness. We are the ones that can bring good tidings. We are the ones who not only experience salvation for ourselves, but need to proclaim salvation. And we get to do it even through technology. And we publish peace and salvation in the digital spaces. Let me first take a little bit of time to paint a picture of the context that we're in and the challenges that we face. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to our digital world, but in the context of discipleship and our dream to journey onwards, I want to offer two key thoughts. To me, this gives us some handles, not just for the inward journey, which is your discipleship, your growth in following Jesus, but also the outward journey towards impacting communities and beyond. I want to highlight two trends or important observations that are critical for us to consider. It not only affects the way we do life, but the way we think about faith issues. The first is this idea that we easily get distracted. We don't stop long enough to think. We're constantly connected and thereby continually occupied, often with inconsequential stuff or fluff. So this is an issue for us. Alan Noble in his book Disruptive Witness uses this phrase, the continuous engagement in immediately gratifying activities that resist reflection and meditation. He continues to assert that this is a significant barrier for people coming to faith. Consider, is this true for you or those around you? Someone has even said there's no space in our modern lives, or there's no time in our modern lives that isn't filled up with entertainment, socializing, recording, or commentary. We're just busy and fully distracted. He also believes that we are addicted to novelty. It's impacted by our infinite appetite for distractions. And when I say distractions, I do not just refer to people wasting time, although that's happening, but people distracting themselves so that they ignore the questions of life, the important questions of life. On top of this culture of distraction, there's another truth that is part of our context, and that is we're naturally consumers. We eat what gets handed to us. We have an incessant need to feed on more information, gain knowledge, have lots of choices, get the best deals, promotions, etc. Shopping is a big pastime, right? In Singapore, Singaporeans are great at this. Number one spot, shopping. There's a sale every month, 6/6, 11/11, Prime Day, Black Friday, etc. We take this shopping posture and attitude to other parts of our life too. As a result, technology or media trains us to be consumers, so much so that we approach life in faith with a consumeristic posture. We often approach church or faith with this attitude: what can I get out of it? Alan Noble, again in his book, puts it quite well. He says distraction and secularism have shaped the way modern people tend to find or create meaning in their lives. So long as we're moving to the next thing, we feel that our life has some direction or therefore meaning. If this is true, can you imagine for a while how this has impacted you? And perhaps how it's changed the way we view life as we know it? We cannot be ignorant or oblivious to the times that we're in. They affect the way you and I think. It would give us pause on how we communicate, but it also has an impact on how your message is received, no matter how well intentioned you may be. So the question for us is simply this: how then do we communicate this life-changing message of Jesus to our world? For the rest of our time, I want to share with you a number of stories and ideas. My hope is that it will not only open your eyes to see what God is doing around the world through digital, but it also inspire you to think of how you might engage your world and to answer this question with a critical mind. So just to be sure, when I say digital, I mean the whole works, right? It's about technology, it's about cool, innovative solutions, media, compelling content, social networks, because those are the spaces where people hang out, they connect and engage. It's also about unique, creative, and innovative ways we engage our world. You name it, right? To me, it all counts. As long as it has the potential to point people to Jesus, use it. Also in technology or digital, there are those who build it, those who use it, and then those who maximize or optimize it, and those who leverage it to build bridges to others. And digital missions, simply put, is engaging or journeying with the people who need Jesus in the digital places and spaces where they are. I'll unpack more of what this looks like along the way. You pick it up too through the stories and examples, and you will maybe even learn a couple of thinking models that can help you get started with digital missions or digital ministry wherever you are. So here we go. Here are a couple of stories, examples of how digital missions is making a difference. Let's start with this website. One of the top articles is entitled, "Ever Asked, God, where are you?" Here's what you can count on God for. This is on everystudent.com with 40 over languages. There's a link to the article that I'll offer later, but there's 2.3 million people who read this article last year. It's not hard to imagine why. You can even try searching, God, where are you? Last year, 59 million people visited everystudent.com. About 75,000 people a month indicate decisions for Christ, and they request materials to learn more about faith in Jesus. Here's another one. Here's a story from Anne and A, two young short-term missionaries in the Middle East. And this happened last year in Ramadan. What they did was they rallied almost 250 people to pray and to fast. Just like our cousins, they did that, right? But then after they fasted and prayed, they began to use the Facebook and Instagram and Google targeted ads. And you can see some of the ads in the screen here. And I tell you, they saw astounding reach. 6.3 million exposures, close to 1 million reach. Okay, for those of you who are like, what's a reach? It basically means it shows up on their Facebook feed, right? And what they were hoping for is that people would message them. And true enough, in the period of less than a month, 1,461 people messaged in. 952 people eventually got to hear a gospel message presentation, and 173 people gave their lives to Jesus within their month, our Arab brothers and sisters. 70 of them were actually from recent converts who began sharing their faith. Matthew was one such person. He was actually sick with COVID, but he messaged this team, our team, and was hungry to know Jesus. Within a week of believing, he led 3 individuals to Christ. And he invited the team to join his Zoom follow-up. This is discipleship follow-up session. And Matthew has already finished lesson 5 and 6, basic foundational follow-up lessons with them. And now has a vision to share the gospel to his whole family. Powerful, powerful things happening in that part of the world. And here's a picture of a team in a very similar strategy in a secure Central Asian country. Again, what you're seeing here is they are engaged in digital outreach missions trip. And these were staff and volunteers. They spent 10 hours engaging with about 340 people and about 153 spiritual conversations. Out of that, 64 heard a clear presentation of the gospel, and 10 began a relationship with Jesus. But I want to share with you a quote from Miss A, who shared this. You see on the screen. He says, if we are going after because we say every tongue, every tribe, right, every nation, then we cannot ignore the digital spaces. We must bring light wherever there is darkness. The rest is up to God. Whenever I tell stories like that, I'm often reminded that behind every screen is a person. Every number has a name. Every name has a story, and every story matters to God. So let's move on to some initiatives and ideas from people like you, ordinary followers of Christ, who are taking steps of faith to explore how they can engage their digital world. And here I have a little homework for you, okay? Are you ready for this? As you listen to these stories, I want you to begin asking questions, right? Remember the cultural context and the challenges we talked about earlier, right? Evaluate these ideas critically and ask, how do you see these approaches serve the audience? Okay, and I'll show you the questions shortly again. But I want to bring before you a very critical principle at the very heart of missions. It's simply this: we go where people are. You can say this is a very fundamental principle of missions, because traditional missions requires us to learn the culture, the language. Digital missions likewise require us to learn the digital culture and take bold steps in learning the language our digital world uses. Consider for a moment, where are the places, the people you want to reach are at? Where do they hang out? Where do they have fun, learn things? They are probably also spaces where they discover and derive meaning and purpose. Missions is about bringing the love of Jesus to those places and spaces. And by the way, where people are, it's not just a location, but it's also where they are spiritually, where they are emotionally and more. Okay, and you can see the next picture here. It's this idea that everyone is on a journey, whether they realize it or not. We are all on a search, and because we live in a very complicated and complex world, or with people on rather varied journeys, one simple way to approach it is using this scale of belief. You could say that in our digital world, we have the unique opportunity to connect with the unaware, the curious, the followers, and the guides. And we can invite each of them to take one step in their spiritual journey, right? And if they're curious, maybe they're not sure about Christianity, but they want to read something or discover something. Can we give them something that they will take them one step to the right? If they're a follower, maybe they want to become a servant leader. What resources are we offering them that helps them in that journey? So again, as you listen to these stories and ideas, I want to ask these questions. What ideas come to mind for you? Jot them down. I know you have them. And how do you sense these ideas would serve the people you're trying to reach? Okay, so are you ready? Here we go. All right, talking about where people are. Here's a great example. People are increasingly on TikTok. Lots of them. It's been downloaded 2.6 billion times worldwide. 1.1 billion active users. This is as of February 2021. This is clearly a space or place where people are. Now you ask, how can we go where people are? Here's how Colin LaBrose did it. Colin just gets on TikTok, simply reads the Bible or share an encouraging word. He has impact on 502,000 followers every day. He influences more people than some church pastors. Whenever I share this, I will ask myself these questions. But before that, I want you to watch what he does. Okay? Just listen to how Colin does it. It's really cool.
The Bible number one says that people bow their heads, pray to prayer to get into heaven and accept Jesus in their heart. So don't ask Jesus to come into your heart. Give him your entire heart. Don't ask Jesus to come into your life. Give up your entire life to him. If your life is like a pie or a cake, God doesn't want a slice or a sliver. He wants the whole thing. You could do a Devo a day the rest of your life and not even connect with God at all. You could miss him completely. The Bible doesn't say you'll know about the truth and it'll set you free. Jesus says you will know the truth and it'll set you free. It's relationship with him, not some religious stuff to check off your list. Did you pray a prayer?
Isn't that cool? Well, whenever I share this, I ask myself these questions. What makes it work? Why do you think people are responding to these efforts? What other ideas come to mind for you? I encourage you to take note of this. Consider this also, that some of the followers that he has, this could be the only slice of church they are experiencing. All right, next story. Here, I love it when ordinary people dream up extraordinary ideas to engage their community or digital world. A Real Moms is a homegrown strategy to connect with moms with tweens. They host regular moms chat room where moms from all walks of life show up. I've heard some really cool stories of non-Christians taking steps of faith in their spiritual journey as a result of this. Let's Zoom with Mom, the one in the middle, is an initiative by one of our church members. I was told 80% of the people who show up for the activities, often with their kids, are non-believers, people in our neighborhoods and communities. What a great way to connect and build bridges. Missions is alive and well. Definitely not on lockdown. The mom who led this strategy actually said, it's like digital missions in our HDB backyard. So what I love about these ideas is that they are championed by digital immigrants. Means they are not necessarily digitally savvy, but if they have a strong desire to reach people and a big heart to learn, they can do anything. So more recently, a friend of mine whose day job is PR and branding, he loves Chinese pop music of his era. And he knows there are others like him, so he started a YouTube channel called Yesterday Today Radio, just to celebrate and enjoy this genre of music. So during Chinese New Year this year, he hosted an online party for all the Chinese, Malaysians and foreigners who are stuck in Singapore because of COVID and can't return home to be with family. As he gained more traction, he discovered a lot of people who followed him and who joined his live stream are all lonely people. He slowly got to know them. This is a very personal ministry to him. He believes God has laid on his heart these specific groups of people, those who are unchurched, and he wants to creatively use the music and the stories to connect with them and to find opportunities to share the love of Christ with them. God is on a mission. He wants to rescue every single one of his child who has walked away from him. You and I are on mission too. And Jesus, our mission giver, calls us to go into all the world. God has uniquely called us into such a time as this, where digital is in our history and also in our story. I hope by now you know that this is not just for the specialists or those who are technically inclined. It's for you, it's for me, it's for every Christian. We can all be a digital missionary. A few years ago, I was speaking at a Nairobi conference, and I remember stumbling upon this tweet by a Kenyan sister. I love how she puts it so beautifully. She says, God is raising up a digital army, and I'm part of it. Another one expressed, I'm called to win more souls for Christ. That's what I want to be about. I trust that that's what you want too. And as the Lord enables us, may we all step out in faith and courage to live our life on mission in our digital world. Remember Isaiah 52 verse 7? We started with that, to publish peace and to proclaim salvation. That's call for us. Because we live in such desperate times, a world that is in need of a savior. God's call for us is to help bring the unchanging gospel to our changing generation. Let's heed the call together. Thank you so much for making time to listen. I pray that you have a rich and meaningful discussion in your groups. See ya.